What's up, everybody? This is Brad, and we're here today to talk about Breath of the Wild 2 and the fate of Ganondorf, the great king of evil, the ruler of the Gerudo once upon a time. And I want to talk about this because we just recently got news. I say just recently. It's been a little while that Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed back to spring 2023. I think this was expected from most people. I think it's also like sort of tradition that the big Zelda game that's coming up soon gets pushed back a little bit. So, not completely unexpected. I mean, I do think it's a little bit frustrating personally that this is a game they announced in 2019, and here we are 3 years later, and it still doesn't have a title. That said, patience is a virtue. You gotta be patient, and good things are worth waiting for. We'll see how this works, especially because this is supposed to be a game that they're planning. As far as I'm aware, they were planning on reusing a lot of the assets. Not to say that this is just gonna be like a lot of copy and paste, but they clearly wanted to reuse Hyrule again. I think that was even stated as Breath of the Wild originally came out, is that they had wanted to use this build of Hyrule again, which I think was the actual first teaser for real of a sequel to the game. So I'm sure there will be lots of copy and paste in some point, but from what we've seen, they definitely are going to be giving us a new part of this story. And I wanted to talk about where Ganondorf fits into this, because we don't know officially. This character that they showed off has not been officially named or anything like that. All we know is that there's a decrepit character in some kind of cavern with malice pouring out of him, dressed in Gerudo garb. Who else could it possibly be other than Ganondorf? Now, why this is so interesting to me is because I think that the sequel game is going to address something that for the very first time Breath of the Wild has acknowledged, and that is the fact that Ganondorf is an eternal reincarnation, that he will always return, that it is a curse upon the kingdom of Hyrule and the descendants of the hero and the goddess, that this monster will always come back. No matter what you do to him, he will always return. If you kill him, doesn't matter. He will be reincarnated in the future, and will have to do battle with the reincarnations of Link and Zelda. It's just going to continue forever. It is a curse that will carry out through all eternity. Well, Breath of the Wild is the first game, as far as I'm aware, that they actually address the fact that this is of course something that is going to keep happening. That the legend of Ganon, as it were, has become there have been enough historical records of a beast or of some kind of evil demon lord who is born to Hyrule called Ganon, that the Hyrule royal family has basically been studying it. And they're like, hey, this monster reincarnates every so often, and we need to have a plan. And my theory for Breath of the Wild 2 is that we're going to see a lot more of not the war with Ganon from 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, but I think we're going to learn a lot more about what happened in the previous version of that battle, the previous encounter with Ganon from 10,000 years ago. Remember, in Breath of the Wild, they start the tale of Ganon by noting how Ganon was defeated with the Guardians and the Sacred Beast 10,000 years ago. Then fast forward to the present day, minus 100 years, and Ganon returns as the Calamity Ganon, takes over Hyrule Castle by appearing from within the castle beneath it, and taking over all of the Guardians and the Sacred Beasts. They kind of really push the idea that they did not really expect Ganon to do this, especially with him coming out of from beneath the castle. So I think that's going to suggest that this decrepit body that we see here is locked away under Hyrule Castle. I think that would make a lot of sense. If this is Ganon, if this body is Ganondorf, and again, I'm assuming that it couldn't be anybody else, but for the sake of this video, let's just go ahead and call him Ganondorf. If Ganondorf was truly sealed beneath the castle, that makes a lot of sense. Now, why would he be sealed beneath the castle if the legend says he was destroyed or whatever? Well, I have a theory here that what they were going to do and what this story is going to be about for Breath of the Wild 2 is we're going to find out that 10,000 years in Hyrule's past, with the knowledge that Ganon can reincarnate and will reincarnate no matter what you do to him, they tried to end the resurrection. They tried to basically pause the curse by finding a way to keep Ganon in a sort of limbo, in that they can't kill him, he'll just reincarnate. But they can't leave him alive, so what do you do? In the past, we've seen Ganon has been sealed away, only for him to eventually break free. Like with Ocarina of Time. If you remember in Ocarina of Time, Ganon is never killed. He's simply sealed away. And then he eventually breaks out, takes over Hyrule again. I think in one of the... that's in the Wind Waker timeline, I think. There's one timeline where... I think in the one where the hero falls for Twilight Princess, either Twilight Princess or the child timeline, where after Link goes back, they expose Ganondorf for his overthrow of the kingdom, and then they try to execute him or something, and then he's sealed into the Twilight realm, or whatever they call it. But anyway, sealing him doesn't seem to work, as he just simply waits until he amasses enough power to break free, and then he returns and just continues where he left off. So how do you fix this? Well, you leave him in a state between death, where, as you can tell from this decrepit form, his body has withered into a mummified state almost, where his body has just withered. He's practically dust. But he's not moving. At first, when we first see him, he's not moving. So, my theory in this is that they tried to stop the reincarnation cycle by freezing his body in a state between life and death. So that he becomes, even though he's not dead, he's not alive either, in that he can't move, he can't do anything. He's just permanently frozen in place. Still alive, technically, but unable to do anything. So that's what I think they're going to do, what the story is going to be. Because why else have they brought up the fact that, why is it in Breath of the Wild that Ganon is now a legendary, a legendary figure? From all of the other, Ganondorf's original appearance, he was just a shady guy who the princess had visions of and said, okay, this guy, he's bad news, but, we got to keep an eye on him. She knew he was up to no good, but she didn't know, this is the reincarnation of a great evil from, ages and ages prior. We didn't have that then. I know that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are, continuations of the Ocarina of Time story. So, I'm not entirely sure if those versions of Ganondorf are reincarnations. I don't think they are. I think they're supposed to be, I think those Ganondorfs are supposed to literally just be the same one from Ocarina of Time, just in different timelines. But it doesn't really matter anyway, because we already know that Ganon has made various appearances and keeps coming back. So, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they have specifically now acknowledged that Ganon is a recurring threat to the kingdom. So, how do you fix that? Like I said, This is the story that I think they're gonna go with. But crap. Now I lost my train of thought. But yeah, again, and going back to why this has to be Ganondorf. If you go back and look through some of the stuff from the Gerudo area, specifically when you free Urbosa, when you free her, and she takes her spot ready to aim her sacred beast at the castle for, whenever the final battle comes, she mentions that it's of course her duty as a, ally of the Hyrule royal family and a guardian of the princess. It's already in her duty to it's her duty is that hold on, let me find my words again. As she is Zelda's protector and a champion for Hyrule, representing, the Gerudo, she is a sworn enemy of Ganon. But she also makes mention, she also brings up that as a Gerudo, though, she has a personal disdain for Ganon because the legends of Ganon note that at one point in his reincarnation cycle, he appeared as a Gerudo. Clear reference to Ganondorf. Now, in the first game, they also, by the way, one more, they do mention Ganon. I think it's I can't remember what the leader girl's name is. There's a journal somewhere in the Gerudo village where they basically say the same thing. It's again noting that Ganon had previously taken the form of a Gerudo. But anyway, without the knowledge that this sequel was coming, you could just simply say that, oh, that's a reference to Ocarina of Time, where Ganondorf first appeared, and of course Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, where he came back. But I think this was, while I'm sure that was part of it, this was also, I think, a big story that we're going to see as to why this figure is indeed Ganondorf. Besides the fact that he's clearly, I mean, look at the thing on his head, the golden, I don't know if you would call that a crown or some kind of headdress there. I moved in the Twilight Princess Ganondorf there. He's got something very similar, although I think this Breath of the Wild 2 Ganondorf has a bigger sort of monument. So I don't know if at the point that this character was, alive and thriving, he was the king of the Gerudo, like that old story was supposed to be, once every 100 years, a male is born into the Gerudo, and by Gerudo law, he is instantly crowned king and becomes their ruler. So he very well could have intended to overthrow Hyrule that. And that leads into one of the ideas that I've had before that I'm not really too sure holds much merit because there is an official timeline, but I've had this idea that every Zelda game or every main Zelda game is, since it's always, or most of them revolve around the story of the hero, the goddess, and this demon lord, that they're all various incarnations of the same legend. That's why so many characters share the same name, or certain locations share character names and stuff like that, only they're changed around. Because that's how legends are born, and sometimes various legends are offshoots of other legends. And some of them have side quests. It's like, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, where there's various stories about different knights and some of their various, adventures. So have had that theory before that each Zelda game is just a different incarnation of the same basic story. But then again, the official timeline seems to suggest that no, this is a timeline of events, and this is how they all happen and in the order they happen. So that may not hold much merit there. But anyway, I just want to talk about this for a little while because I think it's interesting. And I really do want to know, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happened to this Ganondorf and see if my theory is correct. That the reason why he is in this sort of weird, almost skeletal state is that they tried to find a way to kill him without killing him. They wanted him to be immobile and incapable of causing any harm. They couldn't just seal him away in another realm. He'll just get out. They already know that. They have to find a way to completely immobilize him and leave him in a state between life and death, so that while he's not dead, he's not alive. But that's the whole point. They want to find a way to kill him without killing him, so that he can't resurrect. And I think that's a bold strategy, and I'm just curious as to, see how that plays out, because I don't see this making any more sense as to why is this Ganondorf, after we supposedly beat Dark Beast Ganon, we beat Dark Beast Ganon. I think that's going to end up being like a Phantom Ganon sort of situation, where the Ganon we defeated in Breath of the Wild 1 was just a Shadow Ganon, or as they may have suggested, that Ganon was sealed away under the castle. In an attempt to circumvent this, he had to build himself a new body, which ended up being like a sort of weird guardian-like body that according to Zelda, he didn't really get to finish before he took his Beast Ganon form, which is supposed to be just his pure enraged, completely irrational form, where he's just destroying everything in his path. But anyway, I don't know. But I'm curious though, because and this is why I put this is the Ocarina of Time Ganon picture on the right here, but it's from Smash Ultimate. This is probably my favorite incarnation of Ganon, I think. And one of the more memorable final boss battles of a game that I can remember. I thought this was an awesome battle. But I'm curious as to see if we will have another fight with a form called Ganon in the next game, or if Ganondorf will be like he was in Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, where instead of the Beast Ganon form being the final battle, it will be the humanoid Ganondorf form that we fight as the final challenge. But I do wonder, if Dark Beast Ganon was just a specter, was just, another basic, the Ganon blights, and not the real deal, what will the real Beast Ganon look like? Will it look like this with swords? Will it be another giant, four-legged, basic giant hog monster like we saw in Twilight Princess and even the original Hyrule Warriors? But, those are, we'll find out eventually, but, I just want to talk about this. I've talked about it before, I think on an old episode of the Bad Show, but, I thought this deserved its own topic, especially since, we're going to be waiting a whole another year to find out anything about this game, probably. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the reason why Ganon was not actually dead, and that instead of being, faded away forever after the first game, he was actually sealed under the castle or wherever he actually is, and this undead state, what do you think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think they were trying to stop him from resurrecting by trying to find a way to kill him without killing him? Or to, keep him alive without letting him, actually be able to do whatever he wants? I don't know. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially considering all the other stuff about, the twice we were told in Breath of the Wild that Ganon was once a Gerudo. I don't think that was just to throw back to Ocarina of Time. And the fact that that there are multiple points in Breath of the Wild where they bring up the war from 10,000 years ago, not just the war from 100 years in the past that they went over in Age of Calamity, that Hyrule Warriors game. So, anyway, that's all I got for you now. Like and subscribe if you would. Leave a comment. Let me know your theories on Breath of the Wild 2, or just anything Zelda related if you want. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen with old Ganondorf? I guess we'll find out whenever Nintendo decides to update us on this game at last. Anyway, until then, we'll see you later.